I'm feeling pretty good about where the Knicks are at here. I'm confident that the Knicks are going to advance. Obviously, we're looking forward to getting into this series, but I do think the Knicks are going to bode well against the Pacers this go-around.
I do, too. Is that a bad thing? We both think that? I feel good about this series. I feel good about this team because this team looks different than they did earlier in the year when I had some reservations. You know what's nuts about this, Sal? Like the whole year, you think about the Towns move, the Bridges move, and everything that they've done, and the path they've been on. This whole year, for really every Knicks fan that's really invested in the team, it was mostly on the Knicks, but also, all right, what are the Cavaliers doing? What are the Celtics doing? Like the Pacers kind of snuck out of nowhere. But I guess even though we knew they were good a year ago, but I guess in a lot of ways, you know, the symbolism is real. Like the Knicks should have been in this spot a year ago if they didn't have some injuries. So the rivalry is deep. Reggie's going to bring the smoke. You know Brunson's going to be ready. You know, the Pacers are good, but I'm with you. Like, I feel really good about this team.
And here's why I feel good about it. Look, we're obviously both Knicks fans rooting for the Knicks, but there is a difference.
But I didn't feel good about it in the Celtics.
Bingo, exactly right. I didn't feel good necessarily in some spots last year or even against the Celtics this year. And by the way, we don't have to worry about the Cavs or Celtics. That narrative is in the past. It's in the rearview mirror. Now you look ahead. There are 4 teams left, 8 wins to go, and the New York Knicks will be champions for the first time since 1973. And before we even get to that, just right now, Eastern Conference Finals against a great rival in the Indiana Pacers who have had their number. I have 2 reasons for you before you give yours. Number 1 for me, I do not believe Jalen Brunson will let the Knicks lose this series. So I know that it's going to be more than just Jalen Brunson. I've said it many times before. They can't win with Brunson playing hero ball. However, he will not let this team lose this series. He's embarrassed by what happened a year ago. He's frustrated, still bothered by getting ousted by the Pacers, even with the built-in excuses with the injuries. I don't believe Brunson's going to allow the Knicks to lose this series to the Pacers. That's number 1. Number 2, defense. The thing that we've been talking about with this team all year long, the thing that I was waiting to see what happens when Mitchell Robinson comes back to see how much better defensively they can be. They were tested early on against Detroit. You know, they've grown a lot here at BT over these first 2 rounds. Long series, 6-game series against Detroit, hard-fought series. Same thing with the Celtics, even with the injuries. And the Knicks have had now those 12 games with Mitchell Robinson coming back and really coming into his own. Maybe the best that we've seen Mitch play, period. Mm-hmm. Their defense, not just Mitch, but yes, having Mitch back, but maybe more importantly, having Bridges on the perimeter specifically to quiet Haliburton in this series.
Listen, there's a lot of basketball reasons, and I'll give you my main one. And by the way, as you say, the Brunson of the defense, I'm saying, yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. So I'll give you something different. But, you know, what's really prepared the Knicks for this point is that they played so many different brands of basketball the last couple of weeks here by necessity. Like they learned, and I think it accelerated their chemistry and their toughness and their reliance on one another. I think that's why I feel the best I felt about this team all year. And, you know, you look at the Pistons series where it was just physical. It was tough. It was just brute strength. It was a surprisingly raucous environment out there in Detroit. Yeah. Like their fans were ready to go. So it was an up-and-coming team. We know they were going to have to deal with the Pistons for years to come, we would imagine. That was the first checkpoint. And I know that the Celtics, there was so many wacky occurrences. Obviously, Tatum going down stinks for the game, but it is what it is. You know, the Knicks back-to-back 20-point rallies. And we can sit here and say, well, and I believe this, you know, the Celtics champions from a year ago, you know, they couldn't shine Bird's shoes and Mikal, and they couldn't. I don't even know that they could shine, you know, Paul Pierce and Garnett's shoes, let alone Havlicek and Bill Russell and all those guys, Dave Cowan. So it may have been like the quote-unquote weakest Celtics champion of all time, but the Knicks still had to find it within themselves to take the dagger and slam it in a champion's heart. So you got an upstart street fight, and then you got to take out the champion. They are absolutely mentally ready, and that gets me to Cat. That's my guy. That's my guy in terms of, you talk about Brunson in the defense, and I'm with you. I believe that he now realizes, I'm not saying he's going to drop 30 and that's not my point. It's the engagement. It's the word intention. You're going to hear that a lot. He came out the other night, and it was decisive. It was quick. It was going to the rim. It was making plays. It was, even though, you know, he missed a couple of bunnies, missed a couple of threes, he was locked in from the get-go. That's all I want to see. That's all I needed to see to have belief in this team to keep going.
And I do feel like, because we could talk about the inconsistencies in this group, it's not just because we're Knicks fans who are rooting for the Knicks. We truly do believe in this group for the reason that we just laid out here. But you could also paint the other side of the picture. Hey, can you trust them? Because I thought that they were going to put away the Pistons in 5. They did not. I thought without Tatum, they were going to put away the Celtics in 5. They did not. They have not been good on their home floor. Those are still question marks here. But I do feel like, and maybe this is more specific to Cat, but also just in general with the team, where there were a lot of hurdles, if not, literal, well, not literal hurdles, but the teams in front of them with the Celtics and all that, but maybe more so the mental hurdles. What's Bridges going to look like? Is he going to gel with this team? Can Karl Anthony Towns, come through and do things the way that he did in Game 6? And now you've seen them overcome those proverbial hurdles, and kind of just, it feels like Bridges is as comfortable as he's been. It feels like Towns is as comfortable as he's been. They're talking about the open communication defensively. They know what they need to do. They've been now battle tested and have come out the other end. So I also think that that's a huge part of it. Their confidence level, BT, where, hey, you can't beat the Celtics. You haven't beaten a good team all year long. No matter what they say, it's in their minds. They know it, especially that last regular season game against Boston where they gave them everything they had and they still lost. But now that they've beaten them and eliminated them, now that they went through what they did against Detroit, now that they're gelling together, I really believe this team believes more than ever. Like, they could say it and think it. Now I think they believe they could win it all.
I think you're probably right. I also think that they're smart enough to understand they've been dealt some pretty favorable circumstances here, which leads us into additional belief that they could really mess around and win the championship. And again, I don't even worry about the finals, but there's 4 teams left. The Knicks are one of them. So the reason why I was very reluctant, I would say 3 big issues here. Very reluctant, not that I didn't want to, but I didn't feel it. Very reluctant to stamp this team a legitimate NBA championship contender during the year. Number 1, and I love Brunson. We all love him. We all respect him. But I do have a teeny weeny tiny reservation. Like, is he the absolute top line superstar that you win a championship because of? And I mean, that's a Duncan, that's a Jordan, that's a Magic, that's a Bird. That's that group. That's rarefied air. And I believe that he is. But that's still a slight question. The next one is the head coach a championship coach? Right. That's something that I've reconciled for and still do in my mind. And with Tom Thibodeau, the third one here would be about Karl Anthony Towns. Not is he tough enough, but is the second star, is he good enough? Is he a Pippen? Is he a Mikal? Is he a James Worthy? Is he one of those guys? And I don't know the answers yet, but the recent answers have trended far more favorably than I thought they would.
Think about it this way, though, because I don't disagree with what you're saying, especially the first one on Brunson. If we focus on him, like we've said this, we all love Brunson here. I said I would never trade him for anybody else because I love what he does, what he means for New York. I love his mentality. But there are reservations about a smaller player being the alpha male, the dog, the best player on your team winning a championship, right? That's been something that's been noted since Brunson has taken off. But look at where the Knicks are right now. There are 4 teams left. The Knicks are one of them. They have to beat 2 more teams. So because of circumstances, if you were to tell me the Knicks were going to beat the Celtics straight up, Celtics fully healthy with Brunson being the guy, that's where I'd be like, I don't know. But Celtics are out now for whatever happened. I don't look at the Pacers as a team that Jalen Brunson, I think the Knicks would have and should have beaten them last year. They should have beaten them last year even with the circumstances, but obviously they were so ravaged. They didn't, all right, you tip your cap, a great season, your Pacers beat you, whatever. But I don't think the Pacers are a team that I would worry about Brunson not being the guy. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
He's good enough on his own to be able to beat this team in the series. That's number 1 thought. Now, as far as the Western Conference goes and the NBA Finals, I don't know. Are Tibbs' weaknesses going to show themselves? Dude, there's 2 series to go. So
I understand.
Even those macro talking points and doubts about, can they really be champions? They have to be out the window now when you're this close and where there are no clear roadblocks in front of them.
Well, they're fair questions, though, because Karl Anthony Towns was at this point a year ago and played awful in the Western Conference Finals. Tom Thibodeau he's had some really good rosters going back to Derrick Rose, and he's now getting into a territory where we will get, I think, some new answers on him. Same with Jalen Brunson. But the one thing that and I feel most confident of those 3 things, obviously, with Brunson being able to do it. The thing that I've seen, and this is great, Like, this should really make the Knicks fan feel, I don't want to say overconfident, but really good about the prospects of the series. The Knicks have proven that they can win when Jalen Brunson isn't amazing. Like, he's had games, dropped 39 at home, where he's had some real good games, but the efficiency hasn't been incredible. He's not going out there shooting 13 for 19 and 4 for 5 from 3 and 8 for 8 from the stripe. Like, he's been, there's been some volatility to his performances. 41%, 39%, 35%, 25% one game. He's had some stinkers. And here we are. The Knicks are still breathing. They're healthy.
Right.
Deuce is starting to flash. In terms of the bench, another concern. Obviously, you look at Mitchell Robinson. I mean, defensively, he looks nimble and quick and engaged. Listen, it's not about predictions. I can say this. The Knicks are ready to play this series. I have no doubt about that.
Who do you think, before we get to the calls here, 888-808-1019, who do you think's the best team left of the four?
The Thunder.
Okay, me too.
No question.
So that's kind of my point about Brunson, where I'm not looking at it as Western Conference NBA Finals yet. I'm looking at it in this series. In this series, I believe Brunson, even though he doesn't have to be at his best, to your point, to win, which is so great about the way that they're built now, where they have multiple guys. Cat could go off one night. It could be OG one night. It could be Bridges. It could be 2 of the 3, all 4, whatever it may be. Josh Hart contributes. The bench contributes, and they should be fine. But Brunson in this series, I believe, will be the best player in this series, which will eventually lead the Knicks to a win. I don't know if I could say that against OKC necessarily.
That's why I'm rooting for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah. I'll take my chance for our old buddies because I don't think we can beat the Thunder necessarily.
Let's go Randall and DiVincenzo. All right, BT and Sal on the fan on this huge Knicks day. Our
Let's
friends
go.
at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Adam starts us off in South Jersey. What's up, Adam?
Oh, now batting leadoff on the fan, Adam from South Jersey. What's up, guys?
What's up,
blue
buddy?
and orange, cloudy skies. BT,
Yeah.
I've called every series so far this playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I said Knicks in 6 over Detroit. I said Knicks in 6 over the Celtics, and Bridges was going to be a key. That ended up happening. Knicks in 6 over the Pacers, and the key is going to be our friend OG Anunoby, and believe it or not, Karl Anthony Towns. I think that Towns is very confident against this team. He had a couple of big games against the Pacers this year, and that kind of confidence tends to bleed over when you feel like you could score from jump. And you guys just said something that's really key. Their defense has come to a different level now. I'm not worried about the Western Conference. I'll worry about that when we get to it.
Yep.
The Knicks are better than the Pacers, guys. They're
agree.
a better team.
I agree.
As long as they play Knicks basketball, they're going to win this series in 6. And listen, if they handle business to Garden early, it could be 5. I think they're that much better than Indy. Enjoy the game. Have a great day, guys. Go New York. Go New York.
Yeah,
go.
he's awesome.
I do think, BT, that the Knicks are the better team. Better team doesn't always win. But it is nice to be on the side of where it wasn't this way last series. It felt like, first of all, they were not the better team. And second, they didn't have home court. With the Celtics being healthy, it was just an uphill battle. Even within the series with the 2 games to none lead, it still felt like it was going to be a battle. So it's nice to be on this side of it. But it does not mean Knicks, I thought, were the better team against Miami a couple years ago. And Miami ended up winning that series.
Yeah.
This is a spot, even last year, I thought the Knicks
You
were
talking about the Melo? You thought that Knicks team was better?
No, the Brunson,
I got
2 years ago, Brunson,
gotcha.
Randall.
Yep.
After they beat the Cavs, that series against Miami, I thought the Knicks were the better team. They ended up losing that series.
Yep.
Knicks were the better team, I thought, last year against the Pacers. Obviously,
So
the
did I.
injuries, but they ended up losing that series. That's why I do think they will right the ship and correct the wrong maybe from last year and get revenge, the ultimate revenge series. But just because they're the better team and have home court, that doesn't mean they're going to win the series.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that, this is what we're thinking right now. And Adam's point about, and I agree with this, like, he said literally, hey, if the Knicks play Knicks basketball, Knicks win. Well, understand there's another side to this. I know we're all wrapped up with the Knicks, and we're legitimately confident. Maybe not cocky, but feeling good about the prospects. I believe the Knicks will win. You believe the Knicks will get to the finals. So, first time we've said that, because I was worried about the Pistons. I said Knicks in 6, and then I thought they'd get smoked by the Celtics. So we are feeling good about the series. But in the state of Indiana, they know they have a good team as well. And they know that they handle the Knicks fairly well. And they're saying on their radio shows, whatever it is, hey, if we play Pacer basketball, we're going to win. Like, I know we're confident. Pacers have some answers, and they've got a lot of depth. So, like, if there's foul issues, this might be like a boring key and a cliche key. Honestly, though, the Pacers have more capable bodies than the Knicks do, all right? They can run 9. They could actually play 10 if they had to, right? And Kolek's not playing, even though I think he should, but whatever. That's a story for next year. So the Knicks aren't going to run out 10. We've seen Towns with foul issues. We've seen Brunson with foul issues. We've seen Mikal Bridges, Mitch Robinson. If the Knicks do have foul issues, that could be devastating, but I'm still feeling good.
Mario's on Long Beach. What's up, Mario?
Great show. I'm really excited about the Knicks. I agree with the Les caller. I think the Knicks are going to win in 6. And we got to give Brunson a little more credit. I believe he's in that area. I mean, this year in Detroit, he had 4 games at 30 in a row and 7 assists. Guess how many people did that in NBA history?
There's 2,
0.
Right?
0.
Well, I thought Jordan did it too. Either way, I got you. Yep.
4 games in a row.
Yep.
Last year, 40 points, 4 games in a row. Second tied with Jordan and Bernard King, and number 1 was Jerry West. That's all-time numbers. Now, I'll leave you with one thing, and thanks for taking my call.
Got it.
You talk about not winning with a small guard. Guess how tall Curry is? 6'2".
Yeah, he's also the greatest shooter.
Yeah.
He's also the greatest shooter the sport has ever seen, Mario, and thank you for the call. And when they're trying to minimize Jalen Brunson, think of it this way. Simplify it. Now, you and I had the argument about Tatum versus Jalen Brunson, who's the better player in the series. I was saying Tatum by far, but at the very least, it's debatable, and I still would side with Tatum, a fully healthy Tatum. Jaylen Brown, obviously a great player. The first round, we're talking about Cade Cunningham and his potential of being a great player or better player in the series than Jalen Brunson. I do not think, I know Haliburton, and I respect Haliburton more than others.
He's good.
He's got that
Very
killer
good.
that you love, but I think to me, Jalen Brunson, clearly the best individual player going into this series, in addition to, I believe the Knicks have the best team.
I agree, but I also think that whether it's 1 or 2 games, triple-double, he's going to mess around with the Garden crowd. He likes to... he's a cocky kid, man, and I think that's going to add a little spice here. I'm really excited for this, but it's not about guys. It's not about scoring points. We know that Jalen can score, but there are. I mean, I'm looking at the game log right now. All right, I'm not going to bombard you with numbers, but 41% shooting, 42. This is in a game. 42%, 31, 39, 25%, 45, 44. That's not going to cut it forever. I understand, we could sit here and say, Brunson dropped 29, and Jalen is the man. This is not to diminish him at all, but his efficiency needs to tick up a little bit. He cannot take so many shots. He's got to be less volume and more makes either shoot a little less and let the other guys eat, or keep shooting more but make more.
Right.
He's got to shoot better.
See, I still feel like, obviously you want that to be the case, but I still feel like they'll be fine in this particular, I think you're going to need the Knicks to play their A-plus game, assuming they get past the Pacers here, to be able to beat a team like the Thunder. They're going to have to be on more often than not and play their complete A-plus game to win a championship. They're not going to be able to back into that. With the Pacers, I don't think that Brunson needs to be perfect. I don't think that Cat needs to be perfect every single game. I think that, obviously you want to see that more often than not, certainly, but I think that they'll overcome some areas of deficiency because of the skill elsewhere that they have.
I think it makes sense. The other thing, too, is, you talk about how the different series, like the aesthetics of the Pistons and the Celtics, very different styles have prepared the Knicks really for a lot now, and I think it's accelerated their chemistry. The other thing, too, is Miles Turner, we know, likes to take a lot of threes, so I don't love Cat out on the perimeter. It's generally how he gets a lot of cheap fouls, and I know Porzingis was awful this past series. He was sick, but when Porzingis was out there, you had him dancing on the perimeter, and even Al Horford bangs at a lot of threes, so I think that the Knick bigs are... they're ready to go. They look the best they've looked all year.
Mitch, baby.
Yeah.
Mitch being back.
Good to have him back.
Couple of different layers here that we'll get into. We'll continue with your calls. We'll get into the baseball a little bit later on as well. 888-808-1019. Is home court actually going to be an advantage in this series? We better hope so, but we'll discuss that when we come back. BT and Sal on the Fan.